But the Most High God comes first. This stream is brought to you by L.I.V.E. products. L.I.V.E. Live now. We're live now. If you want to purchase these products in the Trinidad and Tobago area, only unless you are in the Trinidad and Tobago area, you can purchase these products. We got drink products, we got punches, we got cleaning products, and we got snacks like nuts and granola products. L.I.V.E. Live now. We are live now. So let me get into it with you guys. We about to talk about why the restore the Snyderverse is going to haunt Warner Brothers Discovery until either two things happen. Either the administration changes, however that happens, whether there's still a Warner Brothers or not, whether it's sold off to some company or not, or they listen to the fans. Since 2021, we've been telling them to restore the Snyderverse. It's going to haunt them. Why? We'll get into that today. Also, I would like for you guys to check out the 4KO. 4KO been doing some good stuff. He's been putting out some good videos. And it just so happened Saturday he had a stream in the afternoon. I participated in that stream in which you can check it out. It's James Gunn Superman, Toxic Fans and the Truth 31, and so on and so on and so on. Oh, sorry, my bad. That's the wrong one. It's Superheroes Failed in 2025, featuring the Lethal Geeks and so on and so on and so on. And it was a really good stream. I came in late, but I was on the stream as well. If you guys want to check it out, if you like my channel and you check out my channel, then possibly go across there. Show 4KO your love. 4KO is a good channel. It's a growing channel. They're trying to get more subscribers. You know what I'm saying? More subscribers, more money. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So let me get into it. I just wanted to point out and show some love to the 4KO as well as Lethal Geeks, as well as a bunch of other people. Okay, let me show you some other channels that you should really be checking out. This is Cozy Movie Night channel with these two people. I don't want to show too much of the video. I'll get a copyright strike. But it's suffice it to say that they watched Zack Snyder Justice League and they really enjoyed it. I'm just going to scroll up a little bit here. So like Gunn's movie, for example, it's gone 35 days and it's gone. It's released on digital, as you already do know. Geeks and gamers say, yikes. It's all about Peacemaker. Gunn is doing his Peacemaker thing. And they're just not cool with that. Man of Steel, they just watched Man of Steel. They enjoyed it. Mr. H Review says James Gunn blasted as Superman gets early digital release. Even Mr. H, who's not a Snyder fan in any way, shape, or form, he's talking about it. Plain dumb hate. The hate on James Gunn Superman is nonsense. That's somebody who has a different opinion. I don't only watch people with the same opinions as me. Oh boy. James Gunn's ego destroyed Superman. Superman 2025. Why we can't believe anymore. Gunn Superman. Yep. James Gunn's disaster gets worse. DCU box office humiliation. I'm just gonna go through these first, so you know it's not just a few people online here that are seeing this for what it is. It's a hit, trust me, says James Gunn. Jester Bell says you're being lied to about the Superman's box office, so she understands what's going on. James Gunn shocks the internet with insane Superman. That's another guy. I don't even know how he got my stream. Superman 2025. I host Lex Luthor works and Eisenberg suck. This is the guy that liked James Gunn Superman, obviously. The Snyder Cut made us long for what could have been. This is Dos Cavazos. They liked it, obviously. DCU's future looks bright after Superman's historic box office win. It didn't win. Holy moly. I don't even know where Holy moly came from. This is not somebody I'm subscribed to. I'm pretty sure about that. This is not good. What the fuck? Ryan Canal from RK Outpost. The terrible Superman suit we almost got in 2025. Losers, James Gunn Superman joins DC's $100 million loss club. That's what Skywalker says. And yes, I am subscribed to Skywalker Net, even though I don't agree with everything he says. Annoying James Gunn online antics running thin at WBD. It seems the WB wants to fire him. James Gunn doesn't get Superman. Here's proof. And this is Angry Badger. There's a bunch of guys who go through it, and yeah, they didn't like Superman either. I don't even know these people. I don't know who Angry Badger is, to be honest with you. I must have subscribed to them in my sleep or something. It's over for Superman. This is CS, the director. This is a guy also I follow. Failing at Superman, a Man of Steel retrospect. James Gunn smash hit is a joke. Geeks and gamers. What an undemanding man this Superman must be. This is Robert Burnett. Robert Burnett. He's trying to postulate what is Superman really, which is dumb. I mean, you should know. Superman is a box office flop, price of reason. So I wanted to let you know, not just Snyder fans are out here saying this. James Gunn's Superman digital date announced, and an $800 million is the next. I don't know what he's saying here. Let me see. Is the next.
For why comic book films
is the new
are outright flopping.
$800 million is the new $1 billion mark. I guess he's talking about Jurassic World. Mr. Phenom, who I do follow. James Gunn's Superman lost over half the audience of Zack Snyder's Batman v Superman. That is true. Superman is a box office flop, and James Gunn feels like the wrath of his price of reason. Okay, I just wanted to show you these things before I go on here. Why everyone is talking about Superman. DCU Daily Panic Superman digital release. Move forward receipts. The DCU Daily James Gunn copes hard and lies about digital home release. And listen, I follow this guy, Movies TV Mad, but he has some really out there takes, man. He has some out there takes, but as of late, he been getting on James Gunn. James Gunn and David Cornston get into it during filming. And this is film threat. Yeah. Not every superhero movie needs to connect. Critical drinker parody Superman, Booze Bander. Let's see here. I'm just showing you what's on YouTube first before I get into whatever else. These guys cover other movies. This was on my feed, so I'm just... Does James Gunn fix Jor-El in the digital release of Superman? This is Retro Yeezus. Some DC and Transformers fans fear quality. Transformers, the Bayverse. It looks like Paramount's going to be bringing back Michael Bay. So that's kind of interesting. WB is desperate with Superman. Oh, gosh. It got me laughing, man. It got me laughing. James Gunn Superman Copium hits max levels with early digital release. This is the Angry Badger. Oh, man. Look at this. Dark Knight, The Lost Years. This looks crazy. Batman versus... This lady says talking smack better than Man of Steel? Nah. Nope. James Gunn Superman ends theatrical run, not the massive success that they were expecting. This is true. Like I said, this is how you direct a movie. Oh, nah. Drinkers Chasing Superman, The Many Lives of James Gunn. You see, somebody else is on it. And these guys, I know this guy's a Snyder fan. Harsh critics. DC fans boycott James Gunn Superman. Man of Steel remains victorious. Superman and James Gunn almost got into it on set. James Gunn's faced massive backlash over sucking Superman, whatever. The DCU people versus James Gunn. Superman and Lewis kiss causes controversy among fans. Wesley Snipes' Blade will return for Avengers Doomsday. That is a good thing. That's not a bad thing. Any day, Wesley Snipes as Blade. I know he's 100 years old. Superman is a success according to James Gunn. James Gunn said so. Ooh, there they are again, DCU trouble. Here's why superheroes are failing. Superman and Fantastic Four flopped. They both are flopping. Confirmed. Superman will not beat Man of Steel's worldwide box office. He's gotten the same thing I'm about to talk about. So that's interesting. James Gunn Superman joins top 5 grossing films at the domestic box office. Who cares? Okay. Let's see here. On the road through this a little bit. You're being lied to about James Gunn's box office. James Gunn. This is Ayambo Davidson. I don't know how I know this guy, but whatever. James Gunn Superman gives up at the box office. Yep. Let's see what else we got here. Why James Gunn's Superman did not work. The real reason, Gunn's approach didn't work. Gaslight. James Gunn's Superman early VOD release confirmed. Zack Snyder Justice League review. How good and bad or good was it? Okay. Okay, Jesse Jackson looks like he's not doing too good health-wise. Superman Grounded. James Gunn's reboot fails at the box office. What else we got on feed here? I think this thing kind of... James Gunn responds after shocking decision to take Superman into digital. He said, trust me, y'all. You got to trust me. He lies so much. It's not funny, man. Guy lies so much. It's official. Super Flop forces James Gunn into early digital release. So I want you to see, we are not isolated. And it's not even Snyder fans covering this. There's another guy. I don't know if I'll find him. There's another guy. He's an animator. I don't know if I'll find him, but if I find him, this is the David Cullen Show, Superman Flops and Moving Goalposts. See? The David Cullen Show, he's not a Snyder fan. I'm just letting you guys know right now. I want you guys to understand from this video here is about facts. Trey Michael, who's a comic book fan and he's gay, he says, no, James Gunn's Superman is not a solo movie. So he gets it as well. That's an ensemble movie, right? Superman Behind the Scenes shows how wrong James Gunn is for this film. Wow. James Gunn's Superman hits digital just after 35 days. Now he's blaming Peacemaker for it. Be honest with me. Do you think this was a smart move or just proof the movie flopped? It's a flop. Superman deserves better. And look how much people voted here. This is Woke Watch. So I don't even know who this is. Woke Watch. I've never seen them before. I haven't subscribed to them. I guess the algorithm is giving me feed based on what I guess I'm talking about. Why Man of Steel was a bigger success than James Gunn's Superman. Remember, Man of Steel sold 40% more tickets than James Gunn's Superman. It sold between 100, I think I saw 121 or something like that, tickets. And James Gunn his movie has only sold so far 500 and something tickets, I believe, something like that. Plot hole, says Sean O'Rourke. Hundreds of people in glass prisons, including Lex Luthor's ex-girlfriends, with no place to sleep, take a dump, or shower. No plumbing at all. Let's just say that prison wouldn't look that clean. Ah, interesting. I wasn't thinking of that. And that's kind of petty, but whatever. It's a movie, I mean. It's already done. James Gunn already finished writing Superman's sequel. That's what he says. He's fast tracking, obviously, because it looks like his job might be on the line. Demoted. Superman is a box office flop. Has James Gunn been demoted? See? So that's the question. Man of Steel and the Snyderverse for the win. Yeah. James Gunn's Superman cannot catch Henry Cavill's Superman? That's right, my friend. It won't. Did WB release Superman to digital too soon? No. 66% say yes. That's interesting. The superhero goalposts moving. Fantastic Four and Superman have flopped. Superman's 2025 is getting roasted on Twitter. DC fan copium is funny to witness. Danny's a Snyder fan. Henry Cavill returns to the DCU, James Gunn said. Don't care to see him in the DCU. Debunking the worst Superman review. Who cares? Ooh-wee, the gun meat holders isn't gonna like this. And that's just a picture of the tickets sold. So Superman has sold 82,426 tickets, while Superman at 585 million at the time sold 36,383. So it's less than half. Oh, that's terrible at the time. But I think it's sold a little bit more now. Yeah, the average ticket price they had it as $11.50, but according to this person who adjusted it, it's about $16.08. So that's what he's saying for the US, which is almost twice, obviously, the price. Yeah. This is on the Fly X. Scottie Pippen, Power and Grace. Here come the lies. Trust me. James Gunn responds after the shocking decision to take Superman digital early. All right, I think you guys get the gist, though. Hollywood latest news. James Gunn has a good reason for why Superman is coming to digital. Oh, yes. Culture Casino says James Gunn rushes Superman sequels 2025 fix. Superman closing in on 600 million global box office, unlikely to surpass Man of Steel. That was according to Variety. Restore the Snyderverse says C.S. the director, who is a Snyder fan as well. By the way, Terrence Stamp, he's dead. He died sometime over the weekend. Or maybe it was today, I don't know. The truth about Superman's early digital release. Yeah, the General Zod's dead. So this is the truth about it. This is real scope. The Renaissance Nerd says Superman 2020 is a flop. What defines a flop? Heated debate. Nobody win. Okay. And this is by Shine Comics. Dialogue and characterization matters in Superman media. I love Superman when he's written well. Here is Henry Cavill's Superman from Batman v Superman talking to Lois Lane about what the world is saying about him. He says, I don't care what they're saying about me. The woman I love could have been blown up or shot. Super shit? Lois, you know, the world specifically irritates me. Super shit, that is. So one Superman, he's not bothering with what people say. What's more important is what people do. And the other one, he is irritated by what people say. And that person who's irritated by the super shit, it's James Gunn. James Gunn is giving you what he thinks Superman is from his personal experience. That's why I told you it's going to be an underdog Superman. And what does James Gunn love to do? He loves to have his characters yell and shout and yell and shout and yell, because that's how he feels. That's the people he's been around in his life. This is what he's experienced. So he likes yelling and shouting. So Superman was yelling and shouting. Peacemaker yells and shouts. Star-Lord yells and shouts. Typical thing. So he made Superman. I always say this movie, Superman, is not Superman. What it really is mad. Because apparently Superman wants to show that he's human. He wants to make the point that he's human. I don't know why Superman would want to be human. He doesn't need to be human. He isn't human. So why would he be fighting and quarreling and trying to convince people that he's human? Why would that be important? You know, what's important is that humanity's safe. They're protected. Superman takes care of the helpless, the powerless. Superman ignored all the people with the kaijus mashing up cars and destroying people all around to save a squirrel, ladies and gentlemen. To save a fucking squirrel. Right? What Gunn is trying to do is play to your, he's trying to do fan service. Meanwhile, the rest of the city's getting destroyed by the kaiju. People are dying left, right, and center. Right? He saves the little girl, but the blast from the kaiju goes and it just destroys a guy inside of a store. But hey, Superman saved the little girl. He saved the little girl. I mean, you have to have a very small IQ and be emotionally carried away with these stupid things in Gunn's movie. Oh, by the way, let me like that. Zack Snyder's movie only makes sense if you switch on your brain. I'm joking. If you've experienced some of these things, then you can identify and harmonize with it. Okay. All right. So that's that. Let me get to some other stuff. Real nice and quick here. The DC Gaslighter referred to bio. Apart from Superman, these are the Warner Brothers films that were dropped to digital less than 36 days after release. They're all flops, by the way. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, May 24th, 2024. Joker, Folie Deux, October 4th, 2024. And they tell you the digital release when it was. It was 32 days. Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohirrim. That was released 31 days. Shazam Fury of the Gods, March 17, 2023. It was released 32 days. So this is not surprising that they released the digital release to try and get some more money out of digital release. Now, I was listening to the 4K. And he was saying that, the Batman made money. By the way, Warner Bros. Discovery's stock is at $11.82. So there's no chance that this stock will ever get to $20. It's been hovering around $10, $11, $12 for a year or so now, right? Which is not good news, and I'll get back to that in a minute. But I want to show you something. Batman. The Batman, sorry, my bad. This is a 2022 film. Okay, the Batman. So here, if you look at the Batman, its domestic box office is $369 million. And its international box office is 402 or 403 million, if you want to round up to the nearest whole number. So it ended up at $772 million. Now, what the 4KO was saying was that Deadline, so I'm going to do that now. The Deadline said that the Batman made $177 million profit. I think this is I think you'll have the breakdown somewhere here. I hope so. So let's see here. Somewhere Deadline has the breakdown. If we can find it at all. Here it is. So Deadline shows this is how the Batman's profit works. The domestic box office is $369.3 million. The international box office is $376.3 million, which China's box office was $25.3 million. Doesn't really matter. I don't know if that's separate or together. Maybe it's separate. Anyway, it adds up to $177.9 million. Currently, though, the Batman sits at, I can't remember what. Anyway, so the revenues from the theater, all right, 90% of 369 million, I believe, is 355 million. No, 90% of 369 million is some number. And the international, and I guess 90% of the international box office, I guess that includes China, which would give me 400 and something million. That would, 45% of that, I guess it brings the theatrical, the revenue from the theatrical to 355 million. I don't know. I'll do the calculation. I'll see. I don't think it can't be that low. It cannot be that low. So I will check. I will check and see. It cannot be that low. That's way too low. So something's wrong there. Anyway, they're saying that the home entertainment, I don't know if that's just streaming. No, that's not the streaming. That's probably DVDs or whatever. That's 130 million. And then television and streaming is 150 million. And then foreign sales and overages is nothing. So the total revenues is 635 million. And they say the expenses is production cost, the prints and ads is 135 million. The video cost is 35 million. The residuals is 27 million. Interest and overhead, 36 million. Participation is 25 million, which gives it 458 million. So they get a net result of 177 million. Let me say this before we get into anything else here. I'm going to calculate the actual numbers and see if that's correct. Okay? So, because as we know, it's all about marketing, the marketing costs, and the budget that gives you all of the expenditure, right? So we're going to do an income expenditure thing. I think we will get less, but we'll still go with it and see, okay? Because that's how they get it. Okay, so let's do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the Batman again. Yes, here we are. Okay. And the actual number is 772 million. Okay, 402. Okay, so it's not much that different. Now, let's work it out and see what we get before I go into anything else here. And I'm not trying to diverge for no reason, but he was saying that, the streaming revenue is added to the movie revenue, and that's how they got 177 million as their profit, which is not theatrical revenue. That's what I'm saying. But anyway, let's just see. So what does the Batman have? 369 million. Okay, 369 million. I'm gonna just go to that. 90% of that would be 332 million. Okay. International, you got 403 million. So 181. So 181 plus, what the fuck? 181. Hold on a second here. All right, 332 plus 181 gives us 513 million. Okay? Yeah. Now, if the production is 200 million. Right? And what else we got here? Production is 200 million. And what is the advertising? What's the advertising cost? Okay, so it looks like, I don't know. They have the prints and ads at 135 million. Subtract 135 million. So I get 178 million. All right, so if the advertising or whatever was 125 million, so it is about 177 million. Okay, because you don't have to look at all the prints and ads and all that shit. Prints and ads and all of that stuff is marketing costs, pretty much, right? So it might be a little less, because I got it at a little less. Let me just see. The Batman, hold on a second. Yeah, it was 150 million. So if you subtract, what we got, 135, so I'll subtract an extra 15. So you end up with 163.1 million. Okay, but what they're saying is that I don't know. Let me see what they're saying. They're saying that there are other things you have to withdraw, like video costs and residuals and stuff like that. They also say there's other revenues. So you have the theatrical revenue, which we already covered somewhere. Television streaming is 150 million, and home entertainment. Now, I don't know why you're including home entertainment in this, because box office we're talking about theatrical box office. We're not talking about anything else. And I don't know why the theatrical box office is 355 million. I don't understand that either. So if you're saying that this movie is making a profit, then if you're going to include the home entertainment, then that means with Man of Steel, you got to include the home entertainment as well. You know what I mean? So no, you can't do that. So anyways, without the home entertainment, it's still about 163.1 million. That's how I get it. That's how I factor it in. That's how I determine it. So where the 4KO is saying that, you know, they try to put the streaming revenue in there as well. I don't agree with that. That's not box office. That's not theatrical. You could do that after if you want, but that is not what I include in stuff. Otherwise, Man of Steel made them a ton of money. Because if I'm not mistaken, Man of Steel did, what was, hold on, I'll tell you what Man of Steel's home box office was, which is ridiculous. Okay? So, no, whatever is playing in the theater is playing in the theater. You can't be, that's cheating. Let's see, Man of Steel, home box office. It was Man of Steel's home box office was sizable. Okay. Man of Steel's home box office was, I said fucking home box office, you fucking piece of shit. I don't give a fuck about Superman. Okay, let's go to the numbers. Give a fuck about Superman? Shit. Fuck. Right, so it also had an additional 120 million. If you do that, then you'll get 787 million as your overall box office. So I don't believe in that, right? And then Superman would make what was about 47 million. It would be like 167 million profit. So I don't believe in that. Anyway, the point is, that Man of Steel, you know, they were talking about the Batman. Why did I include the Batman? Because I was trying to clarify something for the 4K. 4K was saying that this worldwide box office here, 772 million, right? He was saying that the profit from this wasn't just the profit from the theatrical box office, but it was also to do with the home box office and all of that, according to Dateline. That's Dateline. That's not official numbers. But when we crunch the numbers, it does get somewhere around 177 million profit. When you think of the marketing, it was about 150 million. And then you had the budget, right? And then you see what it generated, what it earned. The thing is, a lot of people don't realize the domestic box office is about 90% of the domestic box office is gotten by the studio. Internationally, it's about 45%. And you get numbers, ballpoint figure, somewhere around what they're talking about. Anyways, let me get to something else here. All right, that I wanted to talk to you guys about. So, move the calculator out. So yeah, anyway, Superman is a flop, as we already know. And they're trying to do the streaming numbers. I guess they want to incorporate the streaming numbers with the home box office. But even then, it's not going to fly. So Variety said, over the weekend, Superman added 3.1 million overseas and 8.4 million globally. At this point, Superman currently sits at 395 million, which is unlikely to surpass the haul of the character's last solo outing, 2013's Man of Steel, which flew to 670 million. And as you saw in the stream, this wasn't a solo movie. This was like a Justice League movie, right? Because you had, you know, the Green Lantern, you had some obscure characters like Mr. Terrific and so on. But at the end of the day, you know, the box office, and I have to, excuse me, I'm drinking a little bit of something, right? The box, the box office. Okay. This isn't bad. No, this isn't bad at all. Oh, I have to wash out those things and put it. Okay. I'll do that later. The box office didn't perform. Basically, had a Justice League movie. Definitely wasn't a Superman solo movie. And that's what James Gunn does. He does ensembles. He doesn't know how to do singular solo, focus on one character and carry through. So, this movie majorly failed. This movie majorly failed, and Restore the Snyderverse is therefore alive and very, very well. And I would think James Gunn right now is in a pickle because his contract overs next year with the studio. So his time is running out. The DC brand's in the pits. This film is notorious for the wrong reasons. And it is what it is. Okay. Seba summarizes what I was saying. He says, my Superman doesn't yell at the love of his life. Characterization matters. And you saw the same thing said by a guy on YouTube who is a comic book fan. He's not really a Zack Snyder fan, but he's a comic book fan. Seba's a Zack Snyder fan. David the Batman says, God bless. In BVS, Snyder's Superman, when Doomsday attacks Lex Luthor, he jumps in between, he stops the punch. Gunn Superman, when Crypto attacks Lex Luthor, he does nothing. And we saw this Superman do nothing when the Justice Gang killed the kaiju. He did nothing when Lex Luthor pointed a gun to a guy's head and told him to reveal stuff when the guy's dead, and he shot the guy dead in front of Superman. He would not reveal his identity. Right? This is the most effeminate. I say effeminate because he yells and screams and balls and throws his hands up in the air. The most effeminate, the most weak Superman I've ever seen. A Superman who does not. It's not Superman. He's not Superman. He's Gunn's parody of Superman, but he's not Superman. What you saw in the theaters wasn't Superman. And I can definitively say that. Superman is someone who protects the innocent, the poor, the helpless. Right? He's not the one who needs protecting. He's not the one that needs saving. Right? Usually, he's the one saving. Lois Lane was saving Superman. The Justice Gang was saving Superman. Superman watched the Justice Gang kill the kaiju and did nothing. He didn't try to stop it. If he said he was about preserving life, then you would enforce that. This Superman never enforced anything. He never disciplined Crypto. Crypto wasn't even his dog. It was Supergirl's dog. Supergirl calls him a bitch. He doesn't do anything. And I saw someone online having the audacity to say that this Superman is the epitome of masculinity. The fuck do you mean by that? A man is not supposed to behave that way. He's not supposed to throw up his hands in the air and yell at people that he supposedly loves. He's not supposed to be somebody who's killing left and right people after he makes a speech that he wants to preserve life and save squirrels and save little girls from getting wiped away, even though that kaiju was destroying buildings and killing a whole bunch of people. Let the Asian lady die on top of the building. That's why the Asians are like totally against this thing. Let the Pakistani dude or whatever he was get shot by Lex Luthor. This Superman makes immigrants, gives a bad name to immigrants because his parents sent him to conquer the earth. You know, like 9/11 with the Al Qaeda. You get what I'm saying? You can follow what I'm saying? James Gunn was doing a lot of bad things in this movie. And then he has a Zionist as Superman. Like, how can you mess up a movie more? James Gunn and Josh Whedon did a tremendous job of messing up these characters. They had no reverence for them. Has the dog Crypto dragging Superman's foot and making Superman go, ow, ow, ow. Something Star-Lord would do. And that's funny. Ah, ha, 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 ha. Look at Superman. He's getting beat up by Crypto. Crypto's jumping all over him and mashing him up. Ah, ha, 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 ha. Disrespectful, irreverent. This is what Richard Donner was warning against. He did not want the characters to be a parody. He didn't like how the script was written for Superman, so he had it rewritten so there would be respect put on Superman. He was the butt of jokes like how James Gunn's doing it. This is what the fucking studio, Warner Brothers, thinks is a good movie. And shills out there. So y'all go and say that Zack Snyder doesn't get Superman, that's not comic book accurate, that Zack Snyder has made Superman, he's disgraced Superman, he doesn't get Superman. James Gunn comes and he fucking mocks Superman and he curses him out with Supergirl. He slams him into the ground. He makes sure he beats him up so much. He has him yelling, howling at people he loves and at anyone like a petulant child, which is not what Superman's about. But yet, y'all have the fucking audacity to tell us we don't know what Superman is. You never read our comic. Well, why don't you pick up a fucking comic and see if Superman behaves like that? Why don't you do that? Where have you seen Superman behaving like a petulant child carrying on tirades? Where have you seen Superman getting his ass kicked from beginning to end of a run in a comic book? Where have you seen Superman disrespected all the time, 24/7, by Lois Lane, by Crypto, by Supergirl, by enemies? Where? Show me. Oh, this movie's so comic book right. Come on, man. Above in this picture by David the Batman. Shout out to David the Batman on Twitter. You see Superman by his actions, showing you the Superman-y thing to do. Lex Luthor is his mortal enemy. Yet he protects and saves his life from the monster that he's created. That's super fucking man. That's Superman. Not that piece of shit we just watched. Even David Cornsweat is asking, what the hell am I doing this speech to Lex Luthor for? Didn't my father already clarify that with me? Why am I so sensitive? Why is my feelings hurt by Lex Luthor? And James Gunn says, because you see, they still linger, these feelings, because James Gunn is explaining himself to you. He doesn't care about what other humans feel. He's a fucking narcissist. He's only going to come from his perspective of this, which is okay as a director. Just don't call it Superman to me. That ain't fucking Superman. Superman got over his feelings a while ago. He might feel how about how humanity treats him, but he wants to treat them well. In fact, in Wonder fucking Woman, it was said by Steve Trevor to Wonder Woman, it's not what they deserve. It's what you believe. That was established in fucking Wonder Woman. But here is, and even Superman's father said the very same thing that Martha Kent and Jonathan Kent said. It is not about what they think, it's about what you do. And when they see what you do, they will know you were good. And it's the same thing Superman's father said in Superman. Ain't no new script here, people. James Gunn ain't borrowing nothing new. It's not earth-shattering. All of you who say, oh, it's earth-shattering. No. It was in BVS. It was in Man of Steel. The same movies you're condemning, James Gunn just did a ripoff of that. And I haven't seen this movie. I've heard about it. I haven't seen it. And I'm talking about a movie I didn't see because you know why? I've seen James Gunn's movies. And by and large, they are comedies. He's making fun of heroes. He told you what he thinks of superheroes. He thinks they're ridiculous. He thinks they're stupid. But he loves them. He told you this. So the movie he's going to give you is goofy. It's going to be cheesy. It's going to be jokey. He's not going to take nothing serious. Because James Gunn doesn't take anything serious. He's irreverent, just like Joss Whedon. And he will do rape jokes. He will do all kinds of jokes in his movies because he doesn't give a fuck. In his opinion, superheroes are stupid things. They are myths. They're dumb. They're silly. They're stupid. They're for kids. He says, yes, there are morals and stuff we can learn about ourselves, but they're stupid as far as he's concerned. So Superman, in his opinion, is stupid. It's irrelevant. It's stupid. But I can use it to talk about humanity. And his way of talking about humanity is by saying Superman has the desire to be human or to try his best like human beings do. He's an underdog Superman. I told you guys, this take. He's going to do this take. This is what he does. Except for one thing that James Gunn never got. Superman was never. Remember, the people called him Superman for a reason. Superman was never about being human. Superman was about bringing the highest ideals of humanity, the care, the love, the compassion, the protection, and the hope to humanity. That was what he was about. He's a human being. He's not a human being, sorry. He is a regular guy trying to do the right thing. That's all Superman is. And he doesn't like bullies. He doesn't like people taking advantage of other people. He doesn't like evil, wicked people who take advantage of other people. Superman is that guy. And he beats up bullies. Okay? That's Superman. So Superman's not trying to be human. He's not Data from Enterprise from Star Trek. He's not Data from Star Trek trying to be human. He's not a Vulcan trying to be human like Spock. Okay? He's not fascinated with humanity like that. He is there to help humanity find their better self because he's been raised that way. And in all sincerity, he wants to contribute. And he always had certain attributes. He always liked to help people. He always liked to help. Okay? That's Superman. He likes to help. Even if you look at Superman in 1978, what does Superman first do? The first thing we see of Superman is saving Lois Lane and the driver of the helicopter that was falling off the place, right? And when he saves, Lois Lane, she says, what did I call you? I said, a friend. I'm here to help. Okay, that's Superman. That's Superman. Okay? And he's Superman because he's super. You do put him in a world where he's not super, and you want him to be a man, then call the fucking film Man and Justice Gang. Call it that. Okay? Because Superman, that's not what he's about. He's not trying to be human. He's not trying to prove that he's human to anyone. And his feelings, he doesn't care about his feelings. Well, he'll have feelings. He'll feel how about things. But that's not the primary thing. And that's certainly not what keeps him going. And he doesn't care if his feelings are hurt or not by his enemy. He's mature enough to deal with that. He had to be. Because when he was growing up, depending on the version you see, he was picked on. Whether it's Superman 1978, where they try to pick on him as a ball boy, or whether it's the football team, or whether it's Man of Steel, which goes more deeply into a human perspective of what could happen because you've done something extraordinary and you don't want everybody to know, but there are witnesses. And the word gets around and they try to test you. And so you get bullied. And he meets the bully multiple times in Man of Steel. In Superman 2, he meets the bully. And he gives up his powers because he loves Lois Lane, and he gets his ass whooped. But he comes back at the end of the movie to whoop the guy's ass. Superman's been bullied in almost every single movie I know. There's a version of where he gets bullied and how he stands up to the bully. Or somebody gets bullied and he stands up to the bully. Right? We've seen it with Superman and Lois. We've seen it with Superman 1978, Superman 2, 1980. We've seen it with Smallville. And then, well, again, in Smallville, you have highly powerful beings in Smallville. But once again, Superman or Clark Kent is super in that. He's not getting his ass kicked all the time. Right? I talked about this already. Warner Bros. Had the opportunity to restore the Snyderverse. Their stock would have been up in the ceiling by now. Because the amount of billion-dollar movies that are made, the amount of billion-dollar movies these people would have made is not funny. But Damian Anton Vincent said something, and I want to follow up on that with him. Damian Anton Vincent said, and I agree with him on this, that if they tomorrow decide, okay, let's do a palate cleanse. We're going to put Man of Steel into theaters, followed with first theatrical release of Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition. And then finally, Zack Snyder's Justice League goes into theaters for the first time globally, particularly IMAX. They do a run like that. They run Man of Steel for, let's say, they run Man of Steel for a month. Or they run Man of Steel for a couple weeks, whatever. Limited run. They run BVS Ultimate Edition. It's a 3-hour, 30-minute run. Put it in theaters, and you run it. And then finally, you do Zack Snyder's Justice League. But because Zack Snyder's Justice League is 4 hours long, you break it up into 2 hours. You have part 1, and you have part 2. And you put that into theaters. These films are already done. Now somebody says, well, why don't we put the air cut into cinemas? No one's ever seen the air cut. So that would be cool, but not necessary for this run. We're just dealing with the trilogy. We're doing Man of Steel, BVS, Zack Snyder's Justice League. You also have Wonder Woman, but if you have to do any work on Wonder Woman, like change up something, that does make sense. We're not spending extra money. All we're doing is spending money to put it in cinemas. That's it. Distribute it globally, worldwide. 1, 2, 3. All right. The first two, maybe you put it in for a week, you know, in the theaters each. Very limited run. The BVS Ultimate Edition, maybe 2 weeks, right? You put it into theaters. And you can throw it up on streaming if you want after. But Zack Snyder's Justice League, you want to keep that in theaters for about 3 to 4 weeks. All right? Almost like it's doing a theatrical release. 3 to 4 weeks. And if it's really making money and it's not slowing down, you need to do this. You need to extend it a little bit. So if it's making a lot of money, you can put it in a limited release. You can put it in for, you schedule a slot for about 3-4 weeks, but to be tentative, you put it in for the first week. If it doesn't do extremely well, you can pull it immediately. But if it does extremely well, you continue the second week, the third week, and the fourth week. By the fourth week, it has already done what it's supposed to do. You don't need 6 weeks for this. That's, in other words, a month. You keep it in the cinemas for a month. See how it does. And this is what I'll guarantee the studio, Warner Brothers Discovery. I guarantee you this. Those 3 movies, even with limited release for Man of Steel and then Batman v Superman, worldwide or domestically, I don't care how you do it. I suggest you do it worldwide. Particularly for Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition, which is probably going to be the longest release of the 2. I suggest you put that out there for 2 weeks. Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition, 2-week run. It's going to make money. Those first 2 movies made a lot of money. Man of Steel has the highest home box office. And I'm going to tell you this. A lot of people love Man of Steel. So if you go on, you say, oh, okay, we're going to put it for limited release 1 week in cinemas and in IMAX, right? 1 week. It's a whole movie. Put it in 1 week. Betcha. The response to Man of Steel alone is going to scare you. Because you're going to get a couple $100 million off of that Man of Steel. Okay? You're going to see the power of the Snyder fandom. And you're going to see the power of the fandom in general. The DC audience that goes to see DC films. And Man of Steel is an old film. But I'm guaranteeing you, you put that back in the cinemas, it's going to make money. Okay? And then you follow it up with BVS Ultimate Edition. Do not go putting the theatrical cut back in the theaters. That's a shit cut. Nobody really cares about that one. You put the Ultimate Edition. Nobody's seen that. Nobody's seen that in cinemas worldwide. You put that up. Right there. You can also have it in IMAX because there are certain, there's a certain version of it that can fit in to IMAX screens. And it's quite an experience to see the full thing. And then you finish it off with Zack Snyder's Justice League. You break it up into 2 parts. You see part 1. You could probably release part 1 for 2 weeks. And then you come back with part 2 for 2 weeks. Right? I guarantee you that's going to make you a ton of money. Those 3 films, just the way I just said it, will gross you over $1 billion. In and of themselves, probably not. But if you do them back to back, they'll gross you over $1 billion. I guarantee you that. You'll make $1 billion off of those films. And those are old films. Man of Steel is 12 years old. BVS is 8 years old. And Zack Snyder's Justice League is 4 years old. But you put those movies in, 2 of those movies have not seen cinemas. Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition and Zack Snyder's Justice League. And you could add the totals if you want to onto, say, Justice League, whatever theatrical release of the version of that you know, because that's what you did with home box office. So you could, I guess, do that theatrical release and just add more and watch those movies. I'm telling you, those movies will make money. Right? You don't have to do anything, Warner Brothers. Just put them out. I don't give a fuck what James Gunn thinks. I couldn't give a fuck. His movie flopped. So Abdi and Luca, they need to take it into their hands. They need to approach Zack Snyder. And they need to say, Zack Snyder, we're going to put your movies, you know, we're going to right the wrongs with this group. We're going to put your movies into cinemas. See how they do. And if those movies do well, we may be looking at restoring the Snyderverse. And with respect to James Gunn and his universe, that's really up to them. I don't really give a fuck what they do with James Gunn and his universe because I'm not interested in it. I don't care if they stop it. I don't care if they continue it. I couldn't care less. But the one thing I can tell you is, if you're going to do anything, you should test it out first. And Warner Brothers should be smart enough to understand, but they're not. But they should be smart enough to understand to test the waters. Don't go restoring the Snyderverse. Don't go doing a Zack Snyder Justice League sequel and you haven't even put Zack Snyder's Justice League in the theaters to see how the box office will do. That's fucking stupid. What you first do is you put Zack Snyder's Justice League out into cinemas and you give it a run. And in order to do that, well, you have the whole fucking trilogy there. So why not put this trilogy out there? You put it out. The first one, Man of Steel, 2 weeks. BVS, 2 weeks. Zack Snyder's Justice League, Part 1, 2 weeks. Zack Snyder's Justice League, Part 2, 2 weeks. IMAX and cinemas. That's what you do. And you see how much money you get back. That's it. You're going to get 90% of your revenue from the cinemas. You have nothing to lose because guess what? Zack Snyder has IMAX versions and cinema versions of all those movies. It's there for you to release into fucking cinemas and see how they perform. And see how much money they make. And see, really, is DC dead? Really? Is there comic book movie fatigue? These films are old films. These films are old fucking films, right? Man of Steel is 12 years old. Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition, 9 years old. Zack Snyder's Justice League, at least when it was released, so that we saw it, 4 years old. What would stop a studio like Warner Brothers, who's very vapsy, from trying their hand at this? Abdi and DeLuca probably would be open to this. It's extra revenue for you. Why not? You call up Zack Snyder and you ask him, Zack Snyder, what do you think of X, Y, and Z? Maybe, if possible, you can include X, Y, and Z in your final cut. Give some little surprises somewhere with Zack Snyder's Justice League, you know? So, I say all of this to say that this is the time for Warner Bros. To think about what they're doing concerning the Snyderverse, because it's not going to go away. It's not going to go away. We're not going to stop talking about it. Let me show you something else here. Entertainment Biz says, I've said it before and I'll say it again, James Gunn has no originality whatsoever. As you can clearly see here, he literally borrows scenes from Zack Snyder's Justice League. Literally. 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 Stanley Ipkiss says, why can't we have more DC content? Where's the Batman Part 2? Why was Superman and Lewis canceled? Why can't they make the Batfleck movie? Why haven't they finished Snyder's Justice League saga? Where's Keanu Reeves' Constantine 2? And may I add, why haven't they also continued the Amazon project? Why are they going into minor comic book characters? Why are they not going with the main DC lore, the main DC characters? Right? Why haven't they released the Ayer cut or the Schumacher's cut? And you can go on and on and on. Shout out to Muhammad, who is both Snyder fan and also, like me, a supporter of Free Palestine. And he says this: Hamas lost control in Gaza, terrorists fleeing south, civilians losing Hamas bases. Mr. Gallant, let me draw your attention to two things which are very interesting. First of all, how are Hamas members fleeing south if you cut off the entirety of North Gaza from the south by capturing Salah al-Din Road and Rashid Street? Second, what are these Hamas bases you speak of? I thought Hamas had no bases and operated from hospitals and kindergartens. Besides, what would there even be to loot anyway, besides some RPGs and combat equipment? This whole story is bullshit, and you know it, and so does everyone else. Rune King says, so a geek's viewpoint says, sorry, but enough time has passed. Superman is greater than Man of Steel. And Rune King says, he laughs and says, nah, I feel this is wrong. And I'm not even a Snyder Cult member. Here's why. This is as simple as I can break this down. First, these traits define who Superman is in the comics. Unshakable morality, hope and optimism, compassion, humility, restraint. David, Superman came off like a man-child, knave, often clueless. This sometimes can be mistaken for optimism, hope, and a strong sense of justice, but it is not. Choosing good because your parents told you to is not the same as choosing good because it's your core value. The latter is what Superman in the ideal sense embodies. Cowboy Superman, on the other hand, isn't innocent. He's aware of evil, aware of motives, but chooses good anyway. He's not blind. He's hopeful. That's what makes him more Superman than Corn Sweat Superman. Now, which movie has more Superman stuff? Definitely the new movie. There are villains, the dog, the fortress, the Superman robots, etc. Which movie has more accurate depiction of Superman? That would be Man of Steel. So well put. So well put. So well put. And he's not a Snyder fan. Surprise, surprise. Seba. So Lex calls out a move. Guy types it in, and Ultraman does the move. And he's somehow faster than Superman? The last Superman was dodging Barry Allen, for Christ's sake. That's right. When Barry Allen tried to attack him. So there's no super speed in this movie, apparently. Superman is just a man. There's no super to him. He doesn't have super speed. Apparently, he doesn't have super strength. His bones break. He's like Glass, Mr. Glass in Unbreakable, you know? He breaks very often. Ay. Real news with Carlos Digital parody account. Audiences begging for return of Jesse Eisenberg after watching Nicholas Hoult play Lex Luthor like petulant man-child on a juice box high. Oh gosh. I'm not even talking about the CG here for a moment. This suit is horrendous. Bruh. The thing about Gunn is he can't help himself. He's always had the mentality of a 12-year-old edgelord that still thinks getting kicked in the nuts and sexual assault is peak comedy. We told y'all he would disrespect this character, and we're about to show you. Hold on a second. KC Michael Mann era. So he chose the KC logo because his Superman also turns his back on humanity because they hurt his feelings. I guess I prefer a Superman that doesn't punish the world for his bad day. Trying to figure out if this was before or after realizing the billion was just a pipe dream. This was Moonlight. This is Moonlight Warrior who was saying that, Superman's going to break $1 billion. And now he said the box office goal for Superman is to pass Man of Steel 670 million, which is, as you already know, never going to happen. So that's pretty funny. Here's a more accurate version. You okay? Clark immediately gets clobbered because the universe doesn't care about not inconveniencing him. Superman says, you're okay. The kaiju just roars at nothing because the universe wants this cute moment to exist, which somehow translates into Clark caring more. A movie by morons for morons. Let's get this cringe shit out of here. Superman's speech has been officially released. And here it is. You ready for it?
And despite not knowing piece of shit, alien! That is where you've always been wrong about me, Lex. I'm as human as anyone. I love, I get scared. I wake up every morning and despite not knowing what to do, I put one foot in front of the other and I try to make the best choices I can. I screw up all the time. But that is being human. And that's my greatest strength. And someday, I hope, for the sake of the world, you understand that it's yours too. Piece of shit. I'm not broken. How to be a Jew.
And you can see the great difference, even with minimalism. So he's trying to say that because he screws up, that is human. And he's trying to say that he's as human as everybody else because he screws up. And that right there is not Superman. It's not. Superman doesn't glory in screwing up. You understand what I'm saying? And he's not trying to be as human as everyone else. He's not going to say, Superman's not going to say, I'm as human as everyone. He's not going to do that. You know why? Because Superman is not trying to prove to anyone that he's human. He already knows he's not human. So why would he try to pretend to say that I'm as human as another guy? Why would he do that? And that's where he fundamentally fails. So James Gunn, and for the people buying into that horse shit, I mean, Superman, human beings called him Superman. They didn't call him super alien. They called him Superman. They determine if he's human. They feel like he's more human. Remember when Batman said in Joss Whedon's thing, he's more human than I am? That's what he meant. Superman let his actions speak for him. He doesn't have to say I'm human. It's kind of like somebody coming out there and saying I'm the best in the world. No, somebody else is supposed to tell you that you're the best in the world. You're not supposed to beat your own chest and do that. You see, James Gunn is using to err is to be human, or to err is human. And this is where he's coming from. He's not coming from the loftiest ideas of humanity, which Superman embodies, but instead he's coming from the mistakes, the plunders, the errors, the flaws of humanity. That's that Superman. That's what that Superman represents, his Superman, which is not Superman. That's not what Superman is. So fundamentally, James Gunn is flawed in his reasoning of Superman. He doesn't understand Superman. And it makes sense that he doesn't even know that Superman's middle name is Joseph. It makes sense. James Gunn doesn't know anything about Superman, and he's now learning about Superman. He really doesn't know about Superman. This is the fuck up part. He really doesn't know about Superman. And the guy who actually knows about Superman, Zack Snyder, and the guy who actually knows about Superman, Richard Donner, they fired them. These fuckers fired them. Think about what I'm saying. Think about what I'm saying. The people actually get Superman, which is why Superman made box office with those people. This fucking studio fired them. And the guy who's actually clueless doesn't know anything about Superman. He knows superficial shit, but he doesn't really know Superman. They hired that guy to do Superman. And he fucked up Superman. This is not Superman. This is not Superman. It's a guy wearing cosplaying as Superman in a parody, but he's not Superman. Fundamentally, he's not Superman. He's Star-Lord from Guardians of the Galaxy. He's Peacemaker from the Suicide Squad, but he is not Superman. You can't take a liar, a cheater, a guy who's nasty and dirty, low down and mean, and probably involved in illegal activities with children, to make somebody who's supposed to be pure of mind, simple in spirit, wise and sharp, and a lover of humanity. You're just not going to get that from him. You're going to get something else. And this is what you got. Here's Man of Steel kicking Superman's ass. So John Campea is saying a lot of shit because he's shilling for a studio. He's shilling for a corporation. Why Superman never needed to break even. And John Campea, you have such fallen so low in my eyes now. It's not funny. Barry Moneycat Jr. from Trinidad and Tobago, my fellow countryman, says, and for less money for a ticket, Man of Steel 2013 by Zack Snyder made more than Superman 2025. Isn't that something, Barry? Man of Steel is objectively a superior movie, and no amount of shilling from media outlets can prove otherwise to the intelligent masses. We see through the smoke and mirrors, WBD. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And this is Variety's thing, which I already covered. Superman's box office stalled short of 600 million. The Batman did it in 18 days. A ton of power science says also Superman could have easily predicted every move since he has super hearing and he can hear what Lex is saying. And then the guy is a clone of him. So he's going to know what the guy could do and what he can't do. I mean, shit. The box office goal for Superman's past Man of Steel, 670 million. Mission has failed. Yep. What is your favorite Superman? So let me show you the different Superman here. You guys can participate in this on Twitter if you so desire. Kurt Allen was the first Superman, 1948 to 1950. You also have George Reeves, Superman, 1952 to 1958, the television series. George Reeves, of course, committing suicide later on, or at least allegedly committing suicide. We're not too sure what happened. Christopher Reeve, 1978 to 1987. John Heyman's Newton, he played Superboy, 1988 to 1989. You have Gerald Christopher, 1989 to 1992. He was also Superboy. Then you have Dean Cain, which was Lewis and Clark, 1993 to 1997. I actually like this Superman, Dean Cain Superman. People say he wasn't the best Superman, but I thought he was pretty good. Tom Welling's 2001 to 2009. He wasn't really Superman. He was Clark Kent in Smallville. And later on, he kind of put on the suit for a brief moment. I also like Tom Welling. Brandon Ross, 2006 to 2019. Henry Cavill, 2013 to 2022. I particularly like Henry Cavill Superman. Nicolas Cage, 2003. Actually, I don't think we ever saw Nicolas Cage's Superman, and even though that appeared in The Flash, I really didn't like it, so what it is. Tyler Hoechlin, 2016 to 2024. I didn't particularly like Tyler Hoechlin's Superman, but I can understand people liking it. And David Cornsweet, 2025 to 2025. I don't think we'll see a Superman anytime soon. But anyway, yeah, so, yeah. My favorite Superman are Henry Cavill Superman, Tom Welling Superman, and Dean Cain Superman. Those are my favorite Superman. And probably Christopher Reeve Superman, maybe. But I do like looking back at the George Reeves Superman sometimes, so there's all that. Yeah, but you could tell me who your favorite Superman is. Why don't you do that? That would be great. We already covered that. Now this is Cinematic Superman. Powerful, smart, courageous. How we forget aura. Restore the Snyderverse. Keyshawn. I don't even know who the hell Keyshawn
By
is.
something called a phantom.
We have a plan, General.
Is that what I think it is?
It's the ship he arrived in.
The ship is powered by something called a phantom drive. It bends space. Zod's ship uses the same technology, and if we can make the two drives collide with one another, a singularity can be created. Like a black hole? Yes. So if we open up this doorway, then theoretically they should be pulled back in.
So you want us to bomb them with that?
General, that craft maxes out 17,000 pounds. We can drop it from a C-17. It's a viable plan. And if I don't stop that machine over the Indian Ocean, the gravity field will continue to expand.
If that thing is making Earth more like Krypton, won't you be weaker around it?
Maybe. I'm not about to let that stop me from trying. You might want to step back a little bit. Maybe a little bit more.
$299, 300. Ooh, that felt good. Zack Snyder.
A gym in your office. Pretty cool, man.
Thanks, guys. Teen Titans, right?
He knows who he is.
Zach! May I call you Zach?
It's the 365th episode of our show, and we want the best for our fans. We'd like you to give us the Snyder Cut.
Sounds interesting.
Really? You have the interest?
Sure. What did you have in mind? I could give you the epic period piece look, or the dark and gritty style, or the post-apocalyptic cut.
Whatever you think would work best.
Yeah, man, we love your style.
You love my style? Awesome. Well, I can definitely give you that. All right, now sit down, relax, and let me work my magic.
Oh, man, this is gonna be epic!
Let's go wild on these fools! Where did the rain come from?
Who cares? The rain makes this battle look way more epic.
Well, that was weird. There's nothing I can do about that, I don't think.
Arrived in.
Yep, never mind. All right, so it just went its own way. Ali Brooks says, over a decade later, and I still get emotional every time. Yep, the score, the shot, the tension, the emotional weight, the stakes. This was peak Superman, pure absolute cinema. Enlightenment artist, also known as, I forgot your name, bro, but anyway, let's go into it. Here we go.
This is why, and this is why. James got supremely coming out of digital tomorrow. The question needs to be asked, did we even need a reboot to begin with? Yes, for multiple reasons. This is why, and this is why. When your first three films in your universe were widely received as less than mid, I mean, yeah, if you want to focus on the reviews, go for it, but people were showing, they were paying money to go watch these movies. I mean, take The Suicide Squad, the lowest rated one out of the three. This movie made $700 million without China. When has a comic book movie ever done that? Well, you said something, this is funny to me. The reason why a lot of these films stay bad here is because of how badly reviewed a lot of these movies were. People must hate in this universe. Now, that's a really crazy statement to say, because every single movie up here, apart from Black Adam and the second Shazam, all of them got reviews above 70%. The audiences and the critics were fucking with these movies, but they weren't showing up for them at all. Mind you, the Batman and Joker both released during the middle of all of that stuff, and they all made almost $1 billion, with the Joker being the first rated R comic book movie to make $1 billion. The sad part about this, 3 of these movies in the beginning all got fucked by the studio. A Batman vs Superman got 30 minutes cut out, which put in a lot more into the story. The Suicide Squad movie got the same exact treatment that the Justice League movie did. And then when we got the actual Justice League movie, it was resonating really good with the critics and the audience, especially the audience. Now, I'm not gonna say you're on my high horse and say that Superman was bad. I had a good time with the Superman movie. But it is giving me the same exact vibe that all these other movies gave me. It's just gonna be the same thing where it's like, oh, you're gonna sit down, turn off your brain, watch the movie, have a good time, and then you're gonna forget about it. And we're gonna be right back to square one. We're gonna do another reboot. But this time it's just gonna be the only Batman movie. craziest part about it, it's already happened. They're like pretty much throwing away the entire DCU. And the sad part is we don't even have to wait because the DCU, half of these projects are already disappearing. The Authority is non-existent at this point. Batman Brave and the Bold is pretty much going to be the Batman Part 2, which I'm assuming. Supergirl obviously happening next year. So one thing, we have zero updates on that. Creature Commandos was ass. Waller isn't happening. Booster Gold isn't happening. Lanterns is coming out. And Paradise Lost, we haven't heard anything about it. And the only thing that James got has told us is that a super family movie is happening with Supergirl, Superman, and Crypto going up against Brainiac. So they just said, fuck all this. And I'm taking this new universe slowly. I'm not trying to build myself up and get hyped up like I did with the last universe just for it to get rebooted.
Yeah. Thing about it is, though, and I made this comment. Sickness says, lost me. I had a good time with the new Superman movie. He said, no way, homie. All right. The thing about it is, the audience that came to see that trash fucked with it. But guess who didn't come out? Everyone else. Snyder's movies, Joker, Constantine, the Dark Knight trilogy, they came to see. You know why? They saw the trailers and said, I'll pass on that. And then Gunn said that they were ending the universe. So pretty much I will say this. That the guy that was saying, you know, that the first set of movies that came out, people lost confidence in it. So some people came out and saw the other movies. I disagree with that. I'll tell you why. If you look progressively, these movies were making more profit. Man of Steel, it made profit. But then BVS made more profit and more people came to see that movie. And then Suicide Squad, Studio Squad as they call it, it made more profit. Then Wonder Woman made even more profit. Now, the movie that the studio completely tampered with, Justice League, was a complete flop. But then Aquaman came out the following year, and it made even more profit. It made ridiculous profit. So to say that these movies, people weren't going out to seeing them, and that it hurt the other movies after is not true. Something happened. I'll tell you what. In between all those movies that were making profit, Justice League 2017, circle that please, was a flop. Why? Why was Justice League 2017 a flop? Oh, it was another Zack Snyder movie. Okay, if you say so. But here's the thing. Zack Snyder did his Zack Snyder Justice League, which we already know that was his real movie. They didn't allow that to go see theaters. But what we do know is critically and audience reception was way better than Justice League 2017. Not only that, but when we look overseas, once this movie was streaming somewhere, like Migu, whatever, it was breaking records. Wherever it went, it was crashing websites, it was breaking records. It even crashed HBO's website. And here's the other thing. We learned that HBO was falsifying their records and was admitted by the executives. So they said that Zack Snyder's Justice League didn't do as well as, say, Wonder Woman and all these other flops. But who's to say that that's true? Because they lied. They lied to the shareholders. They lied about a lot of things. So what I'm saying is, and the studios never put out the numbers for Zack Snyder's Justice League. And they've never tried to get that movie into cinemas. And there's a reason they didn't. They knew it was going to murder. It was going to wreak havoc in cinemas. And then you could have broken it up into part 1, part 2. Either you watch part 1, part 2 the same day, or you watch part 1, part 2 in successive weeks. You have part 1 for maybe how many ever weeks, and you have part 2 later on. The point I'm making is that the demographic that deals with DC, they have not been able to tap into that demographic for the longest while. The last time they tapped into that demographic with moderate success was the Batman. That demographic showed up for Joker. That demographic showed up for Batman v Superman, Wonder Woman, Suicide Squad, Aquaman, Man of Steel. That demographic hasn't showed up since the Batman. And it wasn't the whole demographic. And I'll say this. The minute you put out anything that Zack Snyder has done with DC into theaters, you're going to start seeing that demographic come back. And I can't wait for that to happen. And it will happen. Mario Navarro says, I finally watched Domestic Man, and I can now claim it's horrible, ugly, and worst of all, boring. And that's all we need to know. Release the Snyder Cut says only two DC movies succeeded since we cursed you for what you did to Zack. I guess he's talking to Warner Brothers Discovery. That's not true. 3 DC movies succeeded since. Well, actually, no. Yes. 3 DC movies succeeded since the atrocities of Justice League 2017. The 3 movies are Aquaman, Shazam, Joker, and The Batman. Those are the 3 movies. Nothing else has succeeded. Gunn Superman's kill count. I really want you to hear this. So yeah, Superman killed a whole bunch of people. I waited 12 years for this. These real DC fans were the most toxic fandom ever to exist. They felt so empowered by WB that making fun of a dead child was a line that they would cross on a daily basis for years. The one movie that was made for them is now flopping. Vindication. Woo! Damian Anton says, oh my. You see, facts don't care about feelings. Zack Snyder's Justice League would have made huge profits for Warner Brothers Discovery as a 2-part movie in cinemas, and could still have dropped it on streaming afterwards. Thank you, Grok. And yes, restore the Snyderverse. This is what Grok said. This is the question. Do you think it would have been better for Warner Brothers Discovery in 2021 to have released Zack Snyder's Justice League in cinemas in 2 parts instead of releasing a 4-hour cut on HBO Max and other streaming services? Yes, splitting Zack Snyder's Justice League into 2 theatrical parts in 2021 would have been better for Warner Bros. Discovery. Amid COVID theater restrictions, a hybrid release might have maximized revenue like Dune 2021. But the 4-hour streaming cut boosted HBO Max subscribers significantly. However, dual films would amplify buzz and box office potential, potentially exceeding the 2017's version 657 million haul. So that's Grok right there. Which is, I'm going to add my like to it, and I'm also going to repost that. I'm also going to like this and repost this as well. So I'm going to bookmark it. Damian Anton Vincent, man, using Grok. Cool stuff, Damian, if you ever get to see this. What is your favorite Batmobile? My favorite Batmobile, obviously, is the 1989 Batmobile. And it'll always be. But I do also love Zack Snyder's Justice League Batman. I also like the Tumbler. Those 3 Batmobiles I like. I like the Tumbler. I like Zack Snyder's Justice League 2016 Batmobile. And of course, I like the classic 1989 Batmobile. Those are my favorite Batmobiles. Godful Universe says, we lost Darkseid for this. And I guess this is Mr. Miracle trying to find Superman and with Lois Lane. And those, I guess, are Lex Luthor's soldiers. And he uses his powers to get them out the way and then keep moving. Raj says, 2 scenes Darkseid appears in Zack Snyder's Justice League shows him losing right at the beginning and right at the end. He also doesn't want any smoke, so he hid instead of fighting the Justice League. All he did was crush the dead skull of Steppenwolf. This was in response to, we lost Darkseid for this. So, Pablo Cito 69 says, thanks for clarifying you didn't watch the movie, bro. Raj says, you or me, lol. He gets his ass kicked in the very first scene and is showed retreating. And then in the last scene, is scared to face the Justice League and is hiding behind the portal, the great dark side. I don't know what movie he watched. Pablo Cito says he got his ass kicked by gods while he was not still a god. No, he was a god. In the end, he appears before them to assess them, not to hide from them. What do you think he wanted to do by saying Ready the Armada, we'll use the old ways, invading Earth or hiding from Earth's Justice League? Dumbass. Okay. Now, I also responded, but for some reason I can't see that. Let me see. Okay, this is me here. I said to him, you must not have watched Zack Snyder's Justice League then. All the visions and dreams show Darkseid winning. In the end, he does win, as did Steppenwolf if Flash did not turn back time. And Ricardo Omar Estrada says, Anti-Life was sound. Ready the Armada, we will do the old ways. As shown, he's telling his second in command to get the army ready to invade Earth. And of course, Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 also happens. And Hiko Moran, well, he says he's a moron, so what do you expect? Don't forget he's a dumbass. Like, how do you forget where the anti-life equation was? You know, the thing that was located where his most important battle was? That's because the locator beacons, mother boxes, went offline, and there were many primitive worlds with life teeming on them in the universe. Why the fuck would he even need the locator beacons if it's somewhere he's been before? Shouldn't there be a record of coordinates to Earth? It's literally the most important planet to his plan. He could have that information somewhere. As far as I remember, it was because of the multiverse. He doesn't even know Earth had it. Dude shows us he's not a DC fan. Exactly. He don't know nothing about comic books. Very well said. Okay. Somebody's apologizing for Superman being too bright. I really want you guys to listen to this. Whenever you get frustrated with debating these motherfucking liars, repost this in this out Palestine. This is Bassem Youssef. Listen to this.
I would like to, like Johnson and his likes, to please stop Zionizing. Why doesn't Egypt take Palestinians? This is like someone going into Fifth Avenue, shooting someone in the face. And it's like, why don't the neighbors don't bury the body? You're the guy doing the killing, not Egypt. So stop talking about Egypt. Anyways, and I would like to, like Johnson and his likes, to please stop Zionizing us. Stop Zionizing. Zionizing, it's a verb which means to gaslight someone with such shameless, narcissistic, psychopathic audacity that you deny reality to their faces while simultaneously playing the victim, engaging in endless circle debates that go nowhere and displaying a complete loss of empathy and basic humanity. Right? Remember, Pierce, why the first video went viral? Because I called Israel a narcissistic, psychopathic behavior that fucks you over and then makes you think it's your fault. Because this is what Israel does. It didn't happen. And if it did, you're remembering it wrong. And if you're not, it's your fault because you're looking into my phone. Narcissists lived in their own made-up reality. They don't share your reality. They live in their own custom-made universe where facts are negotiable and truth is whatever serves them in the moment. And when it comes back and when you corner them, they back through tantrums, accusation, Hamas, anti-Semitism, full victimhood mood. And it's pointless to debate with them, right? Because take him, for example, and the likes of him. You show them a video, it didn't happen. You to show them UN reports, these are lies. You mention international law, it's complicated. You get testimonies on the ground from doctors and nurses at Hamas propaganda. Yeah, we saw it with our own eyes. Your optic nerve is anti-Semitic. Like Israel is like Shaggy. We saw you on the hospital. It wasn't me. We saw you killed the children. It wasn't me. Dude, your war crimes are documented. Hamas propaganda. Also, it wasn't me. There is no point of debating gaslighters with. We have 4K videos, satellite imagery, and your own soldiers posting on TikTok bragging about killing children. But of course, yeah, the entire planet is having a mass hallucination, right?
I'm glad Bassem Youssef just kind of spells it out. I mean, the shit going on right now is ridiculous. And the people who are enabling this are just as guilty as the people who are doing it. And I wanted to cover this Free Palestine because the hypocrisy of these fucking disgusting pieces of shit who are our leaders, supposedly government officials, etc. All of them. I call out even my own fucking government. All of you motherfuckers are pieces of shit because you should be on this You should be nailing these motherfuckers to the wall and telling them we're not doing no fucking business with you. We're not dealing with you until you stop what's going on in Palestine. In fact, fuck that. If you have a window, you have exactly a week to get this thing wrapped up. Otherwise, the whole fucking world's going to come down on your shoulders. We're going to bring our military, whatever it takes to stop you. That's what needs to go on. But there's no fucking politician with the testicular fortitude to stand up and speak strongly about this issue. Strongly about this issue. Stand up and do it. There are only politicians such as China, the BRICS countries, and they're getting attacked, of course, sanctions and all kinds of shit, and they can give a fuck. South Africa, etc. They're standing up and they're doing something. But the rest, they're just standing. Even the Middle Eastern countries, their leadership, they're just standing idly by. They're not doing anything, right? And I'm disgusted with these people who are enabling this genocide that's going on in front of our face. I'm disgusted seeing journalists being murdered and so on. The guys is Hamas. Fuck that. Hamas is not bad. You are fucking bad. The IDF, the fucking government of Israel, they're bad. A lot of those settlers, bad. A lot of the Israelis who are supporting this, bad. All the Zionists all around the world supporting this, bad. Period. 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 Because what we see on our television screens is bad. It's anti-human. Full stop. And it needs to end. And it needs to end now. You know? So I don't buy any products. I don't buy fucking Coca-Cola. I don't buy no fucking Pepsi. I don't buy no fucking Starbucks. Who wants to work for Starbucks? Fuck you. You're giving these people money to commit genocide and eventually to genocide you. Fuck all those people. Fuck all those corporations and companies. If I know any of those corporations and companies are connected in any fucking way to these fucking Zionist murderers, I want no part of them. No part of them. I'm not going to give you my money to kill other people. I'm not going to give you my money to eventually kill me. Fuck you. And I say, fuck you. That's what I really mean. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Fuck you. So that's how I feel about that. And Bassem Youssef, he's right to say Egypt doesn't have to take the Palestinians, and they never should take the Palestinians, and the Palestinians should stay on their land. And in fact, this is what I say. Egypt should supply weapons to Hamas. In fact, all the countries should start supplying weapons to Hamas, and they should start flying their planes over Israeli space and stop respecting Israeli space and bomb them and do whatever the fuck they want, because they're violating other people's rights, and they've been doing it for decades. But it takes balls to do that, because I'll tell you this, the Yemenis, I respect them. The Hezbollah in Lebanon, I respect them. Even Iran, I respect them, right? Because Israel shouldn't be standing right now. They should be bombed the fuck off the planet. That's my personal opinion. And you will say, well, what about the innocents? Well, what about the innocents? They don't care about the innocents. Do unto others as you like them to do unto you. So Netanyahu should be dead. I heard he ran from the country yet again because the people are putting pressure on him. There's a lot of protests right now going on in Israel. But really, personally speaking, people should have overthrown him a long time ago, and his whole regime, and should clean out their government. They need to have a revolution and wipe them off. They need to have a revolution in the United States and clean out that swamp as well. And we need to have a revolution in my country as well. I couldn't give a fuck what the government thinks. I don't give a fuck, because they never cared about us. They talk like they care, but they don't act. Their actions don't speak as loud as their words. So I don't really give a fuck about them. I don't give a fuck about those people. I don't give a fuck about none of those people, because, you know, there's a scripture in the Bible saying, you know, you respect, you know, the people who are in charge of you and stuff like that. I'm going to tell you this. I respect people who care about other people. I'll respect them. You don't respect people who, you know what I'm saying? That's how I feel about it. And they just tried to shadow ban me again. And you know what? I can give a fuck, because I'm going to say what I have to say. I'm going to say what I have to say, because I'll tell you something. The ultimate end game is to wipe out all of us. These people don't care about us. They care for their asses that they survive and they exist in the world that they're trying to create. This new world order, which is satanic. They don't care about us. So if you see me saying fuck you and fuck this and fuck that and fuck that, it's because I really mean it. These people are evil. Right? Feeding off the bodies of people as fun, that's fun. Sacrificing children, eating children, selling children, that's fun. Right? Not too far from where I live, there's an orphanage. And some of those children in the orphanage, they just disappear. And nobody thinks about them. Some children are strays. They wander all over the place, right? They're not in orphanages or anything. Suddenly they disappear off the streets. Young women, young ladies are missing in this country. Do you know who takes these women and uses them and they cannibalize them and so on? These fucking disgusting people, man. These pieces of shit who are supposedly in high positions in our country, in the judiciary, in the government. And I call them pieces of shit, pretend to be people who are of stature and ilk, but they're really raving, disgusting demons in human flesh. Okay? So we can pull out the Band-Aid now and we can start playing nice. Because these people don't care about you. I'm talking about entertainment, but at the end of the day, I want you to understand what's going on. I want you to understand what the world really is and how many pieces of shit are out here in positions of power. And they don't care about humanity. They don't care about you. They don't care about me.
Today, Amir is watching life from a window he can't open. His vein in the silence of his hands that will never clap, never touch the way he wants it. His feet and his steps. Today, Amir is watching life from a window he can't open.
Do it.
His vein in the silence of his hands that will never clap, never touch the way he wants.
All these little children without limbs. All these little children butchered, suffering, hungry. And you expect these people to turn around and love their enemies? Well, some of them do. But what I'm saying is the atrocities that are committed upon them. And we've seen this time and time again with these fucking Europeans that came into countries and fucked up the people and then say, oh, we're going to bring them, make them Christians. I understand why guys like, Dave McKenzie, you guys don't know who that is, but I'm just going to say, why he's so disgusted with so-called Christianity. I can understand it. In the name of fucking Christianity, you killed and genocided the native peoples of my country. You took away their language, their religion, their culture, and you replaced it with yours. And you made them lesser than. So that we have to go searching in the history books and searching through archaeology to find these people's original identity, their original language. And they were like a fucking plague going all over the world, destroying people's cultures, destroying people's lives, destroying people's identity. Okay? Establishing their fucking empire. So if I sound very angry about this, then I should be, because their culture is that of the devil. They have everybody walking around serving them because all of you have jobs, right? You work for somebody and you never question it. You just do your job. At the lowest level, you don't realize you're just a fucking puppet in their eyes, doing their bidding. And they give you entertainment to occupy your mind from the reality that you're in a shithole, a fucking plantation, doing their bidding while they gather all the majority of the money and resources. And they don't do a shit. You do all the work. They make you pay taxes. On top of earning your living, they take away money from you for taxes in the name of a fucking puppet government which collects those taxes. Meanwhile, most of the revenue and money and profits go to them. Rebellious says he's in a hurry because he's definitely heard from someone in the studio they're planning to fire him. James Gunn says he'll start shooting Superman sequel much sooner than later. We're scheduling it now, so he's trying to do the sequel. He's rushing through a lot of stuff before he gets fired. He feels when his contract is over, it's done. Warner Bros. Had a massive demand for Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3, but they ignored the numbers, shit on their customers, and destroyed their brand instead. Yes, Van W. Entertainment, restore the Snyderverse, 1.5 million tweets. You cannot forget that. And like my boy said, congratulations. You play yourself. $1 billion movie, my ass. Just a shout out to Adam. Lucky Larry Silverstein ate breakfast on the 91st floor of the World Trade Center every day, but luckily didn't come in that one day. Luckily, he also happened to take out an insurance plan that covered terrorism just in time. He collected $4.55 billion. By the way, Larry Silverstein is a Zionist Jew with contacts in Israel and Israeli citizenship, as well as American citizenship. Just a byword. I just thought I'd just say that. Stanley Ipkiss. Honestly, it would be hard to finish the Snyderverse and drum a pipe. Release the air cut to start. Honestly, it wouldn't be hard to finish the Snyderverse and drum a pipe. Release the air cut to start. Air could maybe film an additional nightmare scene like Zack did. And then make the Batfleck movie, which would then tease Justice League 2. Film Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3 back-to-back to see billions come in. Alright, so that's what he said. And this is what I said. Nope. You start with Man of Steel, then BVS Ultimate Edition, then Zack Snyder Justice League. 2 movies of which have not seen cinemas or IMAX worldwide. A palate cleanse. Then you can talk about anything else after. That is where the money is. And I tagged all the other people. Yeah, I think, because these movies didn't see cinema, right? Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition didn't see cinemas, and Zack Snyder's Justice League didn't see cinemas. So why would you start off trying to do, all these other new movies that would require extra money put into them, for one, and for two, that those movies haven't seen cinemas. BBS Ultimate Edition, and then of course Zack Snyder Justice League hadn't seen cinemas. So why would I try to do sequels to Zack Snyder Justice League for cinemas when I haven't even had Zack Snyder Justice League see cinemas? That doesn't make any sense. So that's why I said that. All right, man. I already talked about the 4KO. Over the weekend, Superman so this was the Variety thing, and a guy named Jay, he reacted. The fact that it even got close to Man of Steel is insane, considering it was in theaters for a significantly shorter amount of time. And I responded, it is in theaters shorter because its legs are shorter. Man of Steel, in the same time frame, outperformed it weekend after weekend worldwide. So Colton said, Man of Steel was pre-COVID. There are far less active theaters showing movies, and movies are going to streaming considerably faster, so there's no incentive for moviegoers to go to the theaters. Man of Steel was also at the height of comic book movies, with Avengers having just come out. And I said, Deadpool and the Wolverine 2004, Spider-Man No Way Home 2021, all post-pandemic hits over $1 billion. Do you know why? People love the movies because the studios gave the fans what they wanted to see. People like you lie, but numbers don't lie. And by the way, that fewer theaters bullshit, it's nonsense. You just go and look at how many theaters opened for Superman, and they're same amount of theaters as before COVID. So that's bullshit. Yeah. So Colton said, so what's your excuse for why the Snyderverse you want to restore so bad did poorly? I mean, Superman is doing better than the majority of those films and already has stuff greenlit. I said to him it didn't in box office, and apparently he replied. So let's see what he said. Where's the Snyderverse then? If profit is all that matters, where is it? Oh, it's dead. And it's not dead. I said it's not dead, as you just mentioned it, and I can watch it anytime. Your problem is you don't know what the Snyderverse is. It's Zack Snyder's DC films and Wonder Woman. Those are some of the highest grossing films. It will be restored as it is the only lucrative DC universe. It made $4.3 billion. Yeah. It's the only lucrative DC universe. So I don't know what this guy is talking about. He obviously doesn't know what the Snyderverse is. He doesn't also know why they stopped it. It wasn't because of money. It wasn't even because of critical ratings, because, of course, Wonder Woman did well. Wonder Woman, Zack Snyder's Justice League had great critical ratings, so that's not the reason. The reason they did that was because the studio wanted to chase Marvel, and Jeff Johns had an issue with Zack Snyder being the guy who was shaping the mission vision for DC. He wanted to be that guy. And to this day, Jeff Johns has this poison hand where once he gets dabbling into a DC movie, you know it's going to flop. And he's been involved in Black Adam, Green Lantern, Superman Returns, all these flops. I'm sure he's had his hand in all of these other movies. I think Joss Whedon, him, and James Gunn, I'm sure they dabble in all these movies. And that's why you had so many flops, actually. Right? James Gunn was involved in, I think, Aquaman 1 and 2. And you never really see him as a credit for story unless the movie's successful. He was credited for story on Wonder Woman. But Zack Snyder wrote the story, but he had his name somewhere in there. But Jeff Johns is not a guy who you should be crediting with anything in film. He's just not that guy for that job. He's quite horrible with it. He writes comic books. He should probably stick to that. If somebody wants advice and consultancy, yeah. But he really shouldn't be story writing any movie or film. He's just not good at it. And he's so jealous of Zack Snyder. It's just sad. It really is sad. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. I wanted to share that with you guys, catch up on some stuff. The stream was how long? Oh, I don't know. But it was nice talking with you guys. I'll see you guys later. I am Christ-Head Disciple. You guys have a great night.